Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Jay Real. This is a 1-year review video on the 2003 Civic Si, also sometimes called the EP3. So I bought the car. It had 130,000 miles on it. I've had the car for 1 year and 2 months, and it now has 140,000 miles on it. Mine's one of the lower mileage examples that I've seen. I do check the prices on these online quite frequently, actually, just to see, what condition they're in, how much they're selling for, things like that. So typically with Hondas, they're one of the better brands of front-wheel drive car that you can get, whether it's an Accord or a Civic or an Odyssey, whatever it is. They hold their value. And so I think if I had to buy a front-wheel drive car, it would be a Honda of some kind, for sure. They're reliable, they make decent power, they get decent gas mileage. So the whole reason I bought this car was because it satisfied a few things that I needed. So it's practical, for one. It's a hatchback. I can fit a lot of things in the back. In fact, I moved about 7 months ago, and I was able to fit my antique dresser in the back. Not kidding. So I moved all of my belongings using this car. I did not use a truck. I didn't get anyone. I didn't really have any help, and I was able to do it myself with this car. So that's a huge bonus. So going back to what I was saying a second ago, this car is good at many things, right? So it's practical. It's quick. It's a 2-door, so you've got plenty of room in the front. If you had to put people in the back, hey, guess what? They actually have room. This car has McPherson strut suspension, so what that did is it actually increased the floor space, which also increases, your headroom. So it's spacious as well, and it gets good gas mileage. It's reliable, so it's good at all these things, but it's not particularly good at any one of those things. And I actually just posted a video recently about my first experience driving a 91 Toyota MR2. It was just a naturally aspirated version, and that completely just blew my mind in terms of what a sports car should be, right? A sports car should just stay true to its one function of being a fun car. And that being said, this car is not particularly fun. I'm not saying that it's not fun, it's just it's well-rounded, so it's all of those things that I just talked about with some fun splashed in there. But compared to something like an MR2, that thing excels so much at being a sports car and being fun and being this crazy, just visceral, in-your-face experience. So if that's what you're looking for, then you're probably not going to like this car. But if you're familiar with Hondas and you're a fan of Honda, I'm sure you'll like this car. I think you have better options. I think the EG and the EK are better. They have better suspension setup. But you can definitely do things to improve the suspension. And so what I've done, I've put in, the car sits on Megan Racing Easy 2 street coilovers. It's lowered 2.5 inches. They are 15-way damper adjustable. I keep them on the softest setting just for regular street driving. I've also installed Hardrace reverse mount tie rod ends. They are spherical bearing tie rod ends. They're amazing. They tighten up the steering very nicely. And obviously, because the car is lowered, it brings those, because the reverse mount, it brings the outer tie rod ends down to a nice even level, so they're not operating at these extreme angles. I've also installed Hardrace extended ball joints, and those basically relocate the pickup points within your EP3's suspension. Absolute fantastic top-tier suspension mod that you can do if you're going to lower these things more than an inch. Highly recommend it. I've also replaced the wheel bearings on both of the front wheels, and then of course the passenger side wheel also has a new spindle hub because I had the wheel stud issue, so I just put a new spindle hub in there as well. I just replaced the CV axles about a week ago. If you're going to do that, just get OE axles. I made the mistake of getting DSS axles from Car ID and putting those in, and as soon as I put them in, they were binding up and contorting. So those were bad axles. I had to get another set of axles, which it just ended up being OE axles, and they're way better. They work just fine. Let's see what else. I've also put in, I've got a new driver's side headlight, a new front bumper with the mudguard on it. I've also had the front driver's side fender repainted. I did take the Honda emblem off of the front. I kept it, but I took it off. I also took the Civic badge off of the rear. The adhesive was starting to lose adhesion, so I took it off, and I think it looks a lot better. I've painted some bits on the interior. I painted the seats. I also painted the door handles and door trim pieces. The handle trim pieces anyway. The window switch. I've also painted the gauge cluster trim panel, the center console. I basically just didn't like the crazy cluster of colors that were going on in the interior, so I gave it a more mature look. Other things that I want to do to the car are just maintenance related items. So new air filter, new spark plugs. I've changed the oil 3 times in 10,000 miles. I run full synthetic with a synthetic Wix filter. I take care of my engines. Yes, these are Hondas, but if you change the oil every 3,000 miles and you run full synthetic, it's going to last you a long time. So that's what I do. I also need to replace my upstream O2 sensor. I also need a new catalytic converter, so I may just redo the entire exhaust system, honestly, like headers back, just straight up just redo all of it. My car does have the original pads and rotors that the car came with. They still have a lot of life left in the pads. I check them, somewhat regularly. I do run a more aggressive ceramic brake compound, so they bite really nice. They're really great. I'm obviously running stock power. I haven't done anything to increase the power at all, but it's okay. It's relatively quick, as a Honda usually is. Let's see what else. I would also like to replace at some point the bushings within the suspension. So the control arm bushings, and then of course maybe upgrade the sway bars and the end links at some point. But I don't know when that's going to be. I would really like to see what this car could do with some summer tires. Right now they're not in my budget, but I really am convinced that that would up this thing's game and turn it into something really, really fun. They're just not in my budget for what I'm using the car for. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my 1 year of ownership. I've enjoyed it. Like I said, it fills a lot of voids. It's practical, it's kind of quick, it's kind of fun to drive. Gets okay gas mileage. It's reliable. So yeah, going forward, just gonna do maintenance things, maintenance related items, and we'll see where it goes from there. Thanks for watching and stopping by, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.